Welcome to Basic Brewing Video. I'm James Spencer.
I'm Steve Wilkes.
Today it's a rye homebrew twofer.
Two
Two recipes for the price of one.
Okay.
Free and worth every penny. So these are recipes that we've brewed in the past, and we're doing a little bit of tweaking to see if we can improve them.
It's better than twerking.
Yes, we won't be doing that. That's another show.
Yeah.
First off, let's start off with our 100% rye beer.
Okay.
Have you used this? This is a gift from our friends up in New Jersey, the Barley Legal Homebrewers. Mm-hmm. We got this at the National Homebrewers Conference. You know how to use that?
No, I don't.
Just push down. Yay!
It's not mine, honestly.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it's great.
Anyway, this is 100% rye beer. Now, if you remember the original 100% rye beer,
How could I forget it?
it had the mouthfeel of cough syrup
Yeah.
at the end of it. The wort was very gloppy in the beginning, and when it fermented out, it was slimy. It tasted great.
It's like okra in a bottle.
Yeah, it tasted great. It looked great, but man, it was the viscosity was right up. You
heavy-duty.
could have lubed a race car with that. Pour vigorously. Now this is the same
100%.
beer, only half as much. You got some cookie in that one.
Oh, well.
That'll be yours.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A little rye cookie.
Shall we taste? We usually talk about how we brew it before we taste it, but let's taste it first.
Oh, well, that's a lot better.
Now,
That's a lot better.
the bubbles are rising, still rising a little bit slowly, but
It's got a lot of mouthfeel, but it's not undrinkable.
now, I think it's rather tasty.
Well, yeah, I mean compared to the...
Not being defensive or anything.
No, I just mean the other one was not drinkable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, here's what I did. You remember in the first one I used 4 pounds of malted rye. In this one, what I did was I heated 2 gallons or 7.5 liters of water to 156 degrees Fahrenheit or 69 C. And to that I added 2 pounds or 0.9 kilograms of malted rye. And that brought me to a mash temperature of 151 degrees Fahrenheit or 66 C, which I held for 60 minutes. Now at the end of that, what I did was I said, oh, it's only 2 pounds. I'll use the colander to rack the, just to sparge the grain. Well, I scooped the grain into the colander, and then when I tried to sparge, when I tried to pour the rest of the wort through there,
Forget about
the rye acted like a nice little bowl, and it didn't want to go through. So I had to bring out the brew in a bag, and I bagged it up, and I sparged in the bag, and then once I collected the wort, I put half an ounce of Citra, or 14 grams of Citra, at 60 minutes, another half an ounce at 5 minutes, and used a USO5. Now, the starting gravity of this beer was 1026. The final gravity was 1007. So this beer has an ABV of 2.5%.
Well, my comment, it tastes bigger than it is. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of mouthfeel, there's a lot of structure, there's a lot of body. I don't miss the alcohol. If I was guessing, of course I knew a little bit about the beer, but if I didn't know anything about it, I would have said, 3.5%, 4% beer. Just based on tasting and mouthfeel and all that. Kind of the, your, what do you want to call it, your tasting memory, what you would expect a beer of that strength to taste like. This does. So congratulations in that sense. And it really is tasty.
Yeah,
it really is quite good.
The Citra hops are very nice in this. And I think that, it's still a little bit viscous. It's still a teeny bit slimy. So I think that in the next version, I would go down again to maybe 1.5 pounds of rye. And, see if I could get it to 2%, or maybe even under 2% alcohol. So very nice.
It's a good beer, James. It's a little thick. But it's refreshing. The spiciness comes right through.
But it's something you wouldn't think for a 2.5% alcohol beer. You wouldn't think that you'd be saying it's thick.
Right. No, not at all.
Which leads us into our next beer. Remember, it's a twofer.
Twofer.
This is our brewer's logbook here, which I'm logging,
Very handy.
logging all the. And if you look in the front of the book, it's got a table of contents where you can find your beers easily. Remember the other rye beer that I made after I made the original rye? I said, man, if rye adds that much viscosity and mouthfeel to a beer, I bet you I can make a really low gravity beer, add a bunch of rye, and have it be satisfying. So what I did was I brewed a beer with just wheat and just rye, and it was tasty. So I did it again, modified it a little bit. So I started off with 8 quarts of water, or 7.5 liters of water at 163 degrees Fahrenheit, or 73 C. And to that I added 3 pounds of malted wheat, or 1.4 kilograms, and 1 pound of malted rye, that's 0.45 kilograms. And that brought me up to a mash temperature of 153 degrees Fahrenheit, or 67 C, which I rested at 60 minutes. And then what I did was I put that in my smoker, my electric smoker, since I mashed in a small pot, and that was able to maintain the mash temperature for that whole hour. Then I lined my big brew kettle with the brew in a bag, and then I heated up 5 gallons or 19 liters of water to 170 degrees Fahrenheit, or 77 C, and added the mash into there. And then I took out the bag and had my wort. And to that I added, I brought it up to a boil and started off with half an ounce of Fuggles. That's 14 grams of Fuggles for 60 minutes. And then 1 ounce of Mosaic, or 28 grams of Mosaic, at flame out, which is different from the other. And then in the keg, I dry hopped with 1 ounce of Cascade.
Wow.
So in the original version of the beer, I didn't add any hops at the end of the boil. I just dry hopped with Mosaic. So let's try it, and then I'll talk about the details. I just happen to have a keg right here. And these are commemorative. Whoa!
That one's yours. Oh, good job.
Made a mess. Clean up on aisle 3.
Made a mess. Isn't that a service that come and take care of your house? They're not very good,
That's a service you don't want.
Yeah.
I'll clean up later. Okay, now as we wait for the head to subside, I walked it down the stairs, and I think that might have had something to do with it. Let me tell you that the original gravity on this was only 1018. The starting gravity on this beer,
Wow.
5-gallon batch, 1018. It finished out at 1008. So that gives it an alcohol by volume of 1.3%. 1.3%, and get this, a pint has 76 calories.
That's the spirit.
So I think, and I used US-05 on both of these beers, by the way. So as you can tell, with wheat and rye, you get enormous head retention.
Yeah. Wow.
So you really smell the hops.
You sure do.
From the late hop addition and from the dry hopping.
That is just delicious.
It's a light beer. It's very light, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it watery, would you?
No.
And I've since I made that original rye wit beer, I've heard from other brewers who brewed it, and they have reported successful results as well.
This is very nice. This is a really nice lawnmower beer. I mean that in a complimentary way. Hot weather, I just want something that's refreshing and grapefruity, and this is really nice, James.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So that's I like that recipe as is. I think
That's a winner.
I may be done tweaking that. Now I might, to add a little more body, what I might do next time is even substitute a pound of the wheat with another pound of rye. So maybe 2 pounds
Yeah.
wheat, 2 pounds rye, just to bring up the body a little bit.
Yeah, it could. I mean, I'm not criticizing it. It could have a little bit more body. But man, this is a winner. You know, this is really good.
And
Yeah.
look at the head still sticking around.
Well, that's the thing, and I mean, it's not a. There's a lot of hops. There's a lot of hops in this beer, but it's not bitter.
Right.
The hops are all in the bouquet, and you know, it's very fruity. Really delicious.
I'd also like to try Citra in this one as well.
Yeah, I would think that any of those Citra, Mosaic, Cascade, Chinook, anything like that would work really well in this beer. And actually, you know, something like a noble hop might be nice, like a Satz or Tatning, something like that might be really nice as well.
That'd be fun too to try to
There's
something from the other side of the ocean there.
I wouldn't call this a neutral palate. I mean, the spiciness of the rye is present, but it's not. It's not a palate that. What am I trying to say? The hops will really shine through.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, the hops will shine through. So you can use a hop like a Satz that's very delicate, and you'll still pick that up. I think with this, I believe with this beer. So, wow, I'm blown away.
So there you go. If you're looking for a way to get some really interesting results and out of a low gravity beer, play with rye. And the thing about it is, since rye is so sticky in the mash tun, these kinds of beers are pretty much exclusively the domain of homebrewers who use brew in a bag. So this is something that we can celebrate, we can take ownership of, and we can experiment. And
this is the
find new
kind
stuff.
of beer that the big brewers wish they could make. I really believe that. You know, so you have the 64 calorie thises and the the ultra low that's, and they're trying to do this and they can't quite do it.
I haven't tried those beers, but I'll take your word for
I've
it.
tried them, and this is a lot better.
Awesome.
So
there you go. If you play around with this, let us know. Until then, happy brewing.
happy brewing.
Cheers.
I couldn't.
Don't break the commemorative glass.
I know. I was like, had a focus shift there.
Come and visit us on the web at basicbrewing.com. You can find archive lists of both our audio and video podcasts on home brewing. You can also find our DVDs, Extract Brewing and Partial Mashing, Stepping into All Grain, Low-Tech Lagering and Decoction Mashing, Introduction to Wine Kits, and our Basic Brewing Brewer's Logbook, where you can track and log up to 50 batches of beer. Drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Write to James at basicbrewing.com, Steve at basicbrewing.com, or just use the contact form on basicbrewing.com.
You only live once.
Well, I'm Buddhist. I'm planning to stick around a long time. Not necessarily in this form.